remarkable, right? I mean,
thank you. 81%.
didn't even come close to you.
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you all know that we are broadcasting live. Thank you.
Oh, never mind.
And Ms. Chair, it's now 4 o'clock, so you may begin.
All right. I'd like to call the Sugarland 4B Corporation meeting to order Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Citizens who desire to address the City Council Board and our commission with regard to matters on the agenda will be read and are received at this time. Are there any people here from the public that want to be heard?
No, ma'am, there's no one signed up.
Okay, so I'd like to close this agenda item. And let's move to the next item, which are the minutes. Consideration of an action on the minutes of the March 2nd Joint Sugarland Development Corporation and the Sugarland 4B Corporation meeting and the March 7th, 2021 regular meeting. Any modifications, questions, or changes to the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, and let me poll real quick. We had Carol McCutcheon, Director McCutcheon, making the motion, Billy Atkinson doing the second, Director Gasani. Approve?
Approved.
Okay, thank you. Director Kamali
Aye.
and Director Watley. Okay, I saw you. We'd prefer if you can come off mute and just say aye or yes.
Aye.
Thank you. No problem. And I approve as well. The motion carries unanimously. Let's close that item and move to the next one. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution number 2021-05-06, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund the All-In for SLTX Business Support Program. Elizabeth Huff.
Good afternoon. I would like to introduce Star Jelani. She is joining us as a part-time help to help us further the All-In for SLTX initiative. And she is a former city staff that went off to start her own business and then has agreed to come back and help us on a part-time basis with this initiative. So wanted to introduce her and let her kick off this presentation. But if you have any questions, I'll be here to help answer.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Star Gilani, and I'm excited to be back. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be a part of the city of Sugarland again. So as some of you may know, the All-In for SLTX initiative was born out of the pandemic in order to help our local businesses. And through it, we've been able to come up with a lot of cool and unique opportunities to not only help our businesses now, but to put Sugarland on the map for years to come. Next slide, please. So some completed projects we'll go through: Sweet Cash funded by SL4B, the Winter Movie Series, Spring Movie Series, Santa's Magic Spear, as well as the chess tournament. Next slide. So a little bit of a recap on the Spring Movie Series. We had approximately 2,500 people attend the movies with about 707 cars. Some of the things that we learned from this project was that wind is definitely a considerable element to measure. But the other great things that we learned is that Sugarland continues to be a place for family-friendly events, and that our citizens as well as visitors are really open to cool and unique experiences. Next slide, please. The other thing that I'd like to talk about is our parklets. I'm excited to announce that we have an agreement with the Williams Trace Shopping Center, and that's where the Just Go supermarket is for our first parklet. We're looking at a grand opening event for late June, early July, and we'll be sure to send that information on to you guys. Next slide. Another project our Parks and Recreations Department is leading is the pump track. What's great about this is that it's also going to help our citizens, but our niche audiences as well in terms of visitors to promote that overnight stay that we're looking for. Next slide, please. We have 2 preliminary layouts that are being reviewed by the focus group, along with 2 location options, which include the Crown Festival Park, as well as the Brazos River Park. Next slide. Some updates on the business support programs. As some of you may know, the Fort Bend County has allocated an additional $2 million of funding to the city of Sugar Land, and we've divided this up into a few buckets. Sweet Cash 2021 being one of them, our request for placemaking being the second one, and business innovation training and coaching as the third one. Next slide. So Sweet Cash 2021 is well on its way. I'm happy to announce that we have about 68 businesses signed up for the program as of this morning, with 380 agreements already signed. With this program, we'll be able to give up to $5,000 to each of these businesses in gift card purchases, and we'll be converting that into thank you vouchers, which will be distributed in a few different ways, one of which will be through community organizations to stay in line with our CARES funding requirements. Next slide. Something else we've been working on is the request for placemaking projects. We've received 5 applications thus far. 1 has been recommended for funding, which we'll go over here in just a second. 2 are currently in review, and 2 are not recommended for funding. We also have 2 city-led applications for mental health art projects that I'll go over here in just a second as well. Next slide, please. So the project that has been approved for funding is for the Art Museum of Texas. This is going to be located in Sugar Land Town Square and is going to feature Sugar Land artists at minimum and Fort Bend County artists throughout the space. We are looking at a late May grand opening, and we'll be sure to pass that information all to you guys as well. And I think it's going to be great for people that are, roaming around Town Square to stop by and see some artists from Sugar Land. Next slide, please. One of the city-led projects for mental health is in partnership with Hope for the Day, where we're going to be creating 3 murals at city parks with 2 messages. It's okay not to be okay, as well as hope. These murals will also have a QR code that can be scanned for mental health resources. And we are looking to working with local artists to design these murals. Next slide, please. Another amazing project we're working on is in partnership with To Write Love on Her Arms. And this mental health project will be focused on creating wooden boxes along with some concrete messages right next to them. The 5 messages that we have approved by management include: your voice matters, your pain matters, your life matters. What you're going through will not last forever. You will make it out of this. Forgive yourself. It's okay to ask for help. You are enough just as you are. Our cultural arts manager, Suzanne, is currently placing an RFP to get local artists to create the woodwork as well as to paint them as well. Next slide, please. Other pop-up improvements that we're going to keep working on is continuing the Sugar Land movie series in the fall or winter, some more parklets and other pop shops that's going to help our economy as well as businesses. Next slide, please. Our Call for Artists program was marketed extremely well, and we received over 143 applications. Right now, there's a committee evaluating each of these applications and creating a artist roster that we can use for any future creative projects. We not only received artists from Sugar Land, Houston, and Texas, but also from all over the world, which I find to be very amazing because this will end up giving us a lot of great art initiatives here in Sugar Land. Next slide, please. Another initiative that we're going to be focusing a lot on in terms of marketing is for our resiliency. This is to help our businesses compete in the post-pandemic world with options such as touchless entry, getting them an online presence apart from their retail infrastructure in the city of Sugar Land. Next slide, please. One other really cool partnership we're working on right now is with Eureka Inventing to create some training and coaching for our Sugar Land businesses. This will help them pivot no matter what the circumstances are in the future, because after a pandemic, who knows what else is in store for us. Next slide, please. So some next steps, we're going to be going through the funding resolution today, and then we'll continue to update on projects. Next slide. These future projects for consideration for SL4B funding will be presented if the project does not meet the CARES definition and if the project benefits the community and our business. An example of such project is the pump truck. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the board approve resolution funding for $1.4 million of the Sugarland 4B Corporation Fund for the hashtag All In for SLTX projects. Next slide.
This time, I'd like to open the public hearing for this resolution at 4:10 p.m. Is there anyone that we need to receive and hear from the public on this resolution?
No, ma'am, no.
All right, I'd like to close the public hearing on resolution 2021-0506 at 4:10 p.m. Next item is consideration of an action on the City of Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution number 2021-0506, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund the All-In for SLTX Business Support Program. At this time, we can entertain questions from the board. Director McCutcheon?
Thank you, Madam President. Has there been any thought about the 5 locations for where the wooden boxes with the seines will go yet, or is that still, I guess, in progress?
It is in progress, ma'am. We have meetings tomorrow and next week to get those locations confirmed.
Okay, one of the #1 suicide spots, unfortunately, seems to be at the Brazos River turnaround. I know that's actually closed, but people can still get down there because it's very isolated. Has any thought been given to that location?
I am not sure, but I have taken a note of this, ma'am, and I will bring it up in our meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So Director McCutcheon, we actually, we had heard that as well from our police department and others. And so the team is planning a trip kind of out there to go visually stand in that area and see what it looks like, where we could put something that would be impactful. So absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. That is definitely one of the spots. We're just not sure exactly how we'll accommodate it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It is unfortunately the spot that I've heard of the most, but wasn't sure exactly how it would work to actually, position a box there. But I was thinking that that's one spot that it could make a difference. Very welcome.
Thank you.
Director Atkinson?
Yeah, I had a question about the status of the planning for the pump track. We went through that fairly quickly, and there was a date of May 2021 on the chart. And before I ask my question, Star, welcome back to the city and thank you for your report. But with regards to the pump track, I was just curious as to exactly where it stands in the planning and whether or not those venues have been selected and that sort of thing.
I think I'll let Elizabeth get into the details, but from my understanding, we're just going through the design process by the end of May 2021. No final location decisions. I think they're just looking at those 2 options that I had pulled up in terms of design for the pump track.
Okay, so it's design only. Okay, thank you.
That's correct.
Director Wadley?
Along those same lines, I think the pump track is exciting, and I know you have 2 different designs on that, but how long is the term on that? I assume once we invest in that, we will keep it going correct?
Yes, it is. It will become part of our capital improvement projects, and it is definitely a permanent installation, not something that would be temporary. So we just saw it as a really unique opportunity to do something different and leverage kind of the following that we have gained through our parks department and our mountain biking association. Like, we are drawing more and more tourists to our community to take advantage of the systems that we have in place. And we thought it would be really neat to partner with parks on this and be able to hopefully attract tourists, but then also if we can get some tournaments and some competitions going, it'd be even better. So we're really excited about this opportunity.
Great. I was hoping it would be permanent, not temporary. And on that same note, do we have any ideas where the parklets are going to be, how many more, and where they could be possibly? Because I'd like one in my district. Thank you.
So Cam Yerdy is on here, and he and John Soriano have done an incredible job of cold calling every single shopping center. And we've gotten very, very close on several other shopping centers. And this one, they finally signed the agreement. So we're really hoping that this one, we're going to make a really big splash and like do a grand opening. And we want it to showcase and kind of build some momentum and excitement when people can kind of go out there and touch and feel it, that maybe they'll feel more comfortable with doing it. But absolutely, if you know of a shopping center that you think would be interested, like please send them our way, because we're actively calling them. So
Thank you. It's exciting. Thank you.
Director Kamali?
Star, very quick and efficient, lot of words said in a small amount of time, and welcome back. Question for you, and you'll figure out very quickly what's near and dear to me is Sweet Cash. I love Sweet Cash, as Elizabeth will tell you. 380 agreements and 68 vendors. What does that mean?
Well, I'm glad you like Sweet Cash, because it's the only reason why I decided to take the job, because I also think it's very cool. So we share that. So the 380 agreement is the title of the agreement that we produce with each business in order for them to be able to receive those thank you vouchers. So 380 is just the agreement name, and 68 vendors is 68 different businesses that we've partnered with, everything from restaurants to nail salons.
And are we still, I know about a week ago, there was still an ask for additional vendors and support. Are we still looking? Are we done?
Yes, sir. We are still looking. So if you know anyone, send them my way.
Do we have a cutoff for that?
As of right now, we don't, but as soon as we start getting close to that max number, we will cut it off at least 2 weeks prior to that.
Is there an opportunity for some of these 68 to get more than 5,000 if we don't get enough?
I definitely think we will get enough, and we want to give everyone a fair chance to participate. I defer to Elizabeth to see if they can get more funding, but from my understanding, we are stopping at that $5,000 per business.
Got it. And then I think I heard you say that we're still looking at movies in the future. I'm gonna just go out on the limb and say it to staff that we're moving into a new world where COVID, I hope, is in our rearview mirror, and we're moving forward in the world, not only here in Sugar Land, and the mask mandate is gone in the state of Texas. We may want to look at that, because I don't feel the participation was that great for the cost at $20,000 a night, plus the weather issues and the wind issues that continue to have problems after we had done the Christmas, the holiday version, and then the spring version. I just feel that's a very expensive dollar amount that we can utilize somewhere else. I'm not in favor per se of movies per se. That's me speaking personally. So I'm not in favor of that. And so that I just wanted to put that out there. And then you had recommended, there was 2 things that were not recommended for funding. But are we going to see what is being recommended for funding as
Yes,
well?
sir. So the one that was recommended for funding was the Arts Museum that's going to be in Town Square that I showcased earlier. And I will make a note of your comment about the outdoor movie series, and I'll be sure to communicate that along to the team.
One final question, Madam President. The 1.4 million that we're asking today? The 1.4 million that we're asking for, what's the balance of the $600,000?
I will defer that to Elizabeth. I've only been here for a week, so I don't definitely know the answer to that question.
All right, no problem.
So the intent behind taking the dollars out of the reserve for opportunities and bringing it, encumbering them for all in for SLTX, is to give us the opportunity to fund projects that may not meet the Fort Bend County definition when they gave us the $2 million. So for the best example we have right now is the pump tracks, because that is not going to be helping a local shopping center or small business. And the people that would be constructing it are not local, but they are the best of the best that will give us a really good reputation justification for having their pump track in our community. So it's giving us that ability to have some flexibility and move through the process a little bit faster. Another example might be if we were able to secure a site to do a temporary food truck park. Depending on the vendors, yes, we would be supporting a small business through the food trucks, but it's not necessarily going to be supporting a larger shopping center or other small businesses. So that one is one that we aren't sure if it would get funded. So it gives us kind of that flexibility to either choose the CARES dollars or the 4B dollars, or hopefully once we've expended all of the $2 million from the county, we then have this to continue some of these exciting projects like parklets and others.
Okay, sustainability is very, very important that we keep it beyond the CARES dollars as well. And I think that's where Councilmember Suzanne was going after as well. Thank you. No, nothing else. Sorry for so many questions.
It's all right. I have a couple of questions. From the artist standpoint, can any additional people submit information for artists, or is that closed?
I know that our cultural arts manager is putting out more RFPs for projects as needed, and we're only using that roster as a reserve to contact as well in addition to, so we will still keep recruiting artists.
Okay. And then is there any way to get a list of those 68 vendors? The only reason I'm asking is there would be others that I want to make sure, and if they're not on there, I would go back and contact them. Is there a way to get that list?
Elizabeth?
Absolutely. So I think we shared a FYI earlier in the month or last month that listed who we had to date, but we can certainly update that and get that to the board.
Elizabeth, can it be emailed instead of an FYI? It's just so much easier.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks. I was going to request the same. Any other Ghasani? Director Ghasani?
So follow-up question to Madam Chairman on the SLTX. Is the city reaching out to each and every business directly, or is this just marketed on certain platforms?
We've definitely been marketing through all of our economic development platforms, and it's currently on the website as well. And we're also reaching out personally to the businesses that have participated prior to or have shown a need of funding during the pandemic. So we're not calling each and every single business per se, but anyone that has shown the need, we have been contacting them. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's why I thought if we had that list, I'm sure all of you have your favorite places. And if for whatever reason it's not on that list, we could also go out and solicit them to see if they'd be interested.
Definitely. I completely agree with that.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to vote?
Motion to approve.
From Director Atkinson, is there a second?
I'll second it.
A second from Director Ghasani. Director McCutcheon?
Aye.
Director Kamali?
Aye.
Director Watley? Did you say aye? Sorry.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Atkinson?
Aye.
Director Ghasani, sorry.
Aye.
And I approve as well. The motion carries unanimously. Let's move to the next item. The receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution number 2021-05-05, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund improvements to the city's minor league baseball stadium and other items that enhance the foregoing improvements. Devin.
Good afternoon, everybody. So this has been our favorite topic as of late is baseball. So I'm just going to start off with a little bit of background information, and before we kind of get into the recently approved lease and 4B's involvement in that. So Constellation Field and the Sugarland Skeeters were first discussed by a citizen-led visioning task force 14 years ago. And this was part of a larger strategy for the city to expand our sales tax base, as well as, develop some unique regional destinations. And Constellation Field was one of 5 venues that the task force identified. And it was the first of those destinations that the city actually pursued and delivered And it was further it was bolstered by voter approval of the funding mechanisms that we used for the venues in 2008. And overall, this strategy has been incredibly successful and is continuing to guide us. Since the Skeeters played their first game in 2012, it's been a significant benefit to the community, attracting visitors and really solidifying Sugar Land's recognition as an economic powerhouse and entertainment destination within the Houston region. Next slide, please. So the first baseball, we didn't just at the start, we didn't just set out to build, just a minor league baseball stadium where it was only going to be baseball. It really captured a much larger vision for developing a first-class AAA caliber stadium. That was always the vision, as well as a destination activity center that could provide opportunities for entertainment, recreation, other family-oriented amenities. And so that was really the overall vision for Constellation Field. The formal development and lease agreements were originally approved with our partner Opening Day Partners in October 2010. And it established, one of the important pieces in those agreements is that it established terms for making the vision for minor league baseball a reality. So we started out with that we wanted this to be a minor league AAA stadium eventually in some form or fashion. And it really paved the way for a 25-year partnership for this economic benefit of the community, because that was what our original lease terms were. The 4B funded the initial construction of the stadium in the amount of $30 million, and our private equity partner contributed $6 million for a total of $36 million for the construction of the stadium. Next slide, please. So in addition to building this first class, minor league baseball stadium, we also set out to partner with the best private sector partners in the country. And I mentioned, Opening Day Partners was our original partner. We also then partnered with the Zlotnick family in 2014 when they assumed ownership. And under their leadership, the Skeeters were a very important part of our community and our local economy. They won multiple championships, and also, were very creative in how they gave back to the community, and also how we ended up being able to play baseball last summer. So there were a few weeks last summer during the height of the pandemic where the Sugar Land Skeeters and the other teams that were playing as part of the Constellation League for the special league that they created, we were the only sports that were even being on air for a couple of weeks in America. And so that really gave us some great exposure to how Sugar Land did things and how creative the Zlotnick family was in order to bring baseball to America last summer. So all the while, we're achieving all this great success in the Atlantic League, but the Zlotnicks continue to share our passion for one day bringing AAA baseball to Sugar Land. And they were really important in this next step that we have now taken with the Houston Astros for that mutual desire for AAA baseball. Next slide, please. So we announced our partnership with the Houston Astros last November with the official minor league realignment that took place. So after all of these years of the vision and the dream for Constellation Field to one day host AAA baseball, the opportunity brought itself to us. And so we were able to, after quick but extensive conversations, we're able to announce this partnership and move forward with this AAA affiliation. Some of the, excuse me, I have to take a breath. So from our community vision to dream big, we've been able to ensure that the stadium was already constructed for this opportunity in mind, and the city councils had great commitment towards making that happen. We've also, thanks to the city council as well as the Sugar Land 4B board, have had some continued conservative financial management that has allowed us to be opportunistic and work quickly when this opportunity presented itself. So this new AAA affiliation will definitely bring us some significant increase in our projected economic benefit as we originally had envisioned for it to be. Next slide, please. So here's the lease and funding mechanisms. The city approved the lease with the Sugarland Astros LLC on April 20th, so just about a month ago. And the Sugarland 4B Corporation, as it was originally involved in the funding and construction of the stadium, was outlined as a funding mechanism for the stadium improvements that need to be made in order to continue the dream and high caliber piece of what our asset is to AAA baseball. So that funding is 10 million over the next 5 years, and 2 million of that funding must be dedicated to fan experience improvements. There's also 1 million that will be deposited in the capital repair fund for a total of $11 million. And all of the improvements are required to be agreed upon by the city and the club in advance of any work taking place. And that is a requirement that is in the lease with the Sugarland Astros LLC. Next slide, please. So with that, today we're considering a finding and funding resolution. This is what allows the 4B to move forward with the funding of the improvements for the stadium. We also already have previously done the public noticing that was required when we originally built the stadium, and then again for these new improvements. And so the next step is to hold a public hearing and consider approval of this resolution from the City of Sugarland, to request from the City of Sugarland to fund the improvements to the city's minor league baseball stadium and other items that enhance the foregoing improvements over the next 5 years. Next slide, please.
All right, so I'd like to open the public hearing for resolution 2021-05-05, receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard. Are there any public members to be heard on this item?
No, ma'am, no one signed up.
All right, I'd like to close the public hearing at 4:31 p.m. Move to consideration of an action on the City of Sugarland 4B Corporation, resolution number 2021-05-05, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund improvements to the city's minor league baseball stadium and other items that enhance the foregoing improvements. Are there questions?
No questions. I'll make a motion to approve.
Director Atkinson, do you have a question, or are you seconding? Okay, you're on mute, but I think I saw a red lip second. So we've got
My
Director.
apologies. I seconded the motion.
All right, so Director Kamali made the motion, Director Atkinson second, Director McCutcheon,
Aye.
Director Gasani,
Aye.
Director Watley,
Aye.
and I approve as well. So the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
Good work.
We'll close that item. Yeah, really great work. I can't wait. Moving to the appointment item, consideration of an action on appointment of 2 directors to the fiscal year 2021-2022 Budget Committee. Both Director Atkinson and myself were on it this past year, so let's maybe look for a couple of new people.
All right, so every year we come to you to get a committee of our non-city council members to get together with staff, with Jennifer Brown and I, to discuss the upcoming budget and kind of have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation. The reason we choose non-city council members is because they are exposed very heavily through the typical budget process about the SLDC and the SL4B. So as Director Sewell mentioned, it was her and Mr. Atkinson last year. And so we will take any nominations for 2 new non-city council members for this year.
I'll volunteer.
Dr. Gasani, do you want to do it again, Billy? Is that a yes, Billy?
Oh, you asking me?
Yeah, because the others are all city council people.
I will be glad to do it if someone else is not interested. I mean, I'm interested, but I don't want to hog the budget. That's for sure.
Well, it's between you and me, so I'll give it to you.
Okay. Well, thank you. You're so kind.
There we go. Do we need to? So let's, I guess, vote. So make a motion for Director Gasani and Director Atkinson to be the 2 directors for the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget committee.
Motion to approve?
Second.
And Director Kamali second, Director Watley,
Aye.
Director Atkinson,
Aye.
Director Gasani,
Aye.
and I approve. The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the next one, workshop review of and discussion on the integrated marketing program. Melissa Raju, Tourism and Marketing Manager, and Kat Sanders from DCI, Senior Vice President of Client Strategies.
Chair, they actually changed it. It's gonna be Jackie presenting and not Kat Sanders.
Okay, that'll be fine. Looking forward to it. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you. Melissa, do you want to kick this part off?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Raju, and I'm the Tourism and Visitor Services Manager. Today, we will be discussing our 6-month integrated marketing strategy that we've executed with DCI thus far. As you may recall, we began a 12-month program with DCI, which would help us focus on positioning Sugar Land as a location of choice as Texas economy recovers from COVID-19, impact especially to economic opportunities related to migration to suburban markets outside of the Houston urban core. To help us achieve this goal, DCI created a 3-pronged success plan for our integrated marketing strategy. Number 1 is to help us generate national media coverage that communicates our business advantages. Number 2, target corporate executives in key markets with digital advertising to generate leads. Number 3, nurture relationships with and educate site selection consultants. The success plans includes 4 components: building a firm foundation, ramping up proactive and reactive pitching, utilizing our own channels to drive positive conversation. Number 4, generate leads with hyper-targeted digital advertising. And now I will turn it over to Jackie Sigmund, our DCI Senior Account Executive, to dive into the updates and successes of the strategy. Jackie?
Thanks, Melissa. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. It's great to see some of you again. I think the last time I was on a call with you all was when we were getting our budget approved. So here we are 6 months later, and I'm very excited to share with you what we've been doing for the past 6 months. So most of you have met Kat before. She leads our team as our Senior Vice President of Client Strategy. And I am the Senior Account Executive on the account. So I do most of the day-to-day work. I work very closely with Melissa and Devin, Teresa, before she was out, to make sure that our program is moving forward and that we're meeting our goals. We also have other members of our team supporting behind the scenes. So we have Caitlin, who is our Account Director of Media Relations. She helps with securing media coverage and our media strategy. We have Steve Duncan, the Senior Vice President of Digital Advertising, who works on our paid digital campaign. And then Brooke Avery, who is instrumental in our social media strategy. Next slide. To start off with some of our successes to date, we are responsible for sending out the business e-newsletter. We built the template originally and send it out every time that there's additional content to send. This has been a great way for Sugar Land Economic Development to engage with local businesses. And we know from what we've heard from the team that when businesses receive this e-newsletter, they respond and have become much more engaged since we've begun sending this out. You'll see the second image on the slide here is an example of one of our e-newsletters. We also have developed messaging. This is in part from our immersion tour, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a couple slides, but we have really gotten integrated into the city. We've met a lot of the local stakeholders and local businesses, and that's helped us develop a message for the city, what our key messages are. One being that businesses are so proud to be in Sugar Land, and they find the city is really helpful in them growing and expanding. So that's something that we want to get out to the media and on your social channels. That's one of the key messages that we're trying to spread. We also are working on media relations. So this is where we're working with journalists to secure media coverage on the local, regional, and national level. You can see on the top image there, this is a placement that we got for Sweet Cash on ABC 13, and Teresa was actually featured on that broadcast. So that we saw a direct impact on the Sweet Cash program, an increase in gift card purchases and submittals that day. So it's clear that local news can absolutely impact some of the campaigns that we're working on. And then we also work with the team on organic social media. So we draft posts for the owned social channels for economic development and Visit Sugarland. And then we have done a bunch of work with you, as I know you've all done, for All In for SLTX, including messaging, collateral design, which you'll see at the bottom of the page here, advertising strategy, and media preparation. Next slide. So our entire program starts with building a firm foundation. And this is what we've been working on for most of the past 6 months, because we started our integrated marketing program with you. This is our first year. So we want to make sure that our team is fully integrated into the Sugarland community, that we know your key stakeholders, that they know us. It makes it easier for everyone along the way so that we can really work to support them and their needs and their interests. So as part of that, we completed 11 virtual Emergent Tour meetings with local stakeholders. Those include the Houston Museum of Natural Science, the University of Houston at Sugarland, and Champion X, as well as some other lifestyle amenities and different small businesses in the city. And we also have developed detailed pitch theme lines highlighting target industries. So this is where we took what we learned from the Emergent Tours and put it together with also everything we've heard from Melissa and Teresa and Devin and everyone on the local team, what your goals are. So we're combining what is the news, what is interesting in Sugarland, what is the media going to be interested in, with what do we want to say. And we're working on putting those two things together so that we can make sure when we do get the media coverage, it's going to put the message out that will really help attract business, attract talent, and drive growth. We also began cultivating relationships with local spokespeople, so that we did a lot through the Emergent Tours, and we've been really nourishing those relationships. When we get some reactive media leads, we'll bring them to some of the partners that we've met and use them as spokespeople, and we've gotten great reactions from all of the local businesses when we've done that. We also built a media list of local, regional, and national media targets. We call this the most wanted media list. So these are the outlets that the team decided we would be so pleased if we got a feature in this outlet. And what's great for Sugarland is it really moves the needle to have national coverage, but as well as local and regional, because you have such a hold on the community and you have so many initiatives that are really for the community that getting a story in the Houston Chronicle, for example, is definitely a win. Next slide. So right now, now that we've finished the Emergent Tours, we're ramping up proactive and reactive pitching. So we're well on our way with some of these initiatives at this point. In the first 6 months of the program, we brought 4 top-tier reactive leads to the team. Those included, I believe, NBC News, the New York Times, with some asks like, for example, a business that moved from, or someone who moved from California to Sugarland during the pandemic, because the journalist was trying to show the story of people sort of leaving California and then like the great growth of population in Texas. So we get opportunities like that all the time from our media relationships. So we're making sure to always think about Sugarland when we receive those and tie in your key messages. We also are working on proactive pitching. Right now, like Devin was saying, everything's about the Skeeters. So obviously opening day is tomorrow, hopefully, considering the rain. I don't want to bring that up, but we have been pitching that to local media because of course, everyone locally knows that the Skeeters are now the AAA affiliate of the Houston Astros, but we want to tell that economic development story. the city has done so much work for so long. I believe it's 14 years was when this vision began, to really create an environment where there's a ton of different amenities, recreation for everyone who lives in Sugar Land, and that obviously will drive the economy. And that's a story that we're telling, tied to this great news of opening day being tomorrow and the Skeeters being the new AAA affiliate. So we're also working right now on a pitch about a couple of the different All In for SLTX initiatives, Sweet Cash, creative placemaking, and request for placemaking. And we're in touch with a journalist from the Houston Chronicle who will be interviewing a couple people from the city next week. So this is where our work in the past 6 months is really starting to pay off, and we're going to start seeing some of those placements. So just to go through some of these bullets, this is our process. So we work on the pitch, we send it out. If it's not working, we refine it and we send it out again. We react to journalists who come to us, and we always want to capitalize on news and rankings. Sugar Land has seen some incredible rankings in the past 6 months that we're really working into social and public relations. And then we always will play back our results. So when we do get these stories in the media, we're going to share them on Sugar Land's organic channels as well. Next slide. So this is an example of a placement that we got. We pitched Hope Biosciences stem cell study for COVID-19 long haulers. It was the first FDA approved study. And we landed this placement in BioSpace, which is a leading trade publication in the bioscience industry. And trade outlets are a huge target when you're really trying to hone in on those industries and get those people who are the decision makers when it comes to business location decisions. So this was amplified on BioSpace's Facebook and Twitter as well. And it just goes to show that every media hit it doesn't just live there, it is often shared, and that is always really helpful. So we reached 1.9 million people. So that means that the impressions are 1.9 million. So the outlet reaches 1.9 million unique viewers per month. So we can assume that the story reached around that number of people. Next slide. This is where some of what I've talked about, how we're utilizing Sugar Land's own channels to drive positive conversation. So one thing that was part of our program for this year was to launch an EcoDev Twitter platform channel, because EcoDev didn't have a Twitter yet. And something that we found in our work with other economic development organizations and in some of our research is that LinkedIn is the most popular social platform for economic development, and Twitter is the second. And we felt it was really important for Sugar Land Economic Development to be on Twitter, and here we are. We launched the channel, so if any of you have a Twitter and you'd like to follow, it's at Sugar Land EcoDev. We're working now on growing the following. And we also draft weekly content for all the other channels, Sugar Land, EcoDev, LinkedIn, and then also some of VSL's. We draft some of VSL's Visit Sugar Land's posts on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. And we've seen great growth with both LinkedIn channels and some great success with replaying some of the really good stories that have come out about Sugar Land. Next slide. So we're also working on digital advertising. This is to ultimately generate business leads. So we created a strategy, and then we're now in these Google paid search ads are live. So you can see those at the screenshots at the top of the screen. So when people search manufacturing in Houston, that is the first thing that comes up is Sugar Land EcoDev's manufacturing page. And then same with biotech in Houston. So that's how those Google paid search ads work. And those are running right now. We also did a SEO audit. So this is to make sure that the website is searchable. So when people are typing in manufacturing in Houston or typing in Sugar Land or Houston, that the text that's on the website is showing up in those Google searches. Our digital team is continuously optimizing all of these ads, making sure, because things change every day, what people are searching changes every day. So part of our program is to make sure that these are always optimized and working as best as they possibly can. And then we're also going to refresh the ads quarterly for the same reason, to make sure that they are working in the current ecosystem, and also to give different opportunities for different industries, or if we get a new ranking and we want to promote that, we'll make sure that everything is fresh every quarter. And then at the bottom here, you can see some of the metrics. So for example, these paid search ads had 349 clicks. So that's through to the economic development website, 8,478 impressions, and a click-through rate of 4.12. So the click-through rate is the number of people who clicked on the ad divided by the number of people who saw it. So our benchmark for the industry is 3% for a click-through rate. So these ads are doing really well, and we're really looking forward to continuing that success. Next slide. And then finally, we just launched our site selection consultant outreach. So site selectors are extremely important, especially for economic development. So we want to make sure that site selectors are aware of Sugar Land, know what's going on right now. And one of the best ways to do that is to set up one-on-one meetings. So Devin or someone from the team will meet with site selectors that are hand selected and invited to meet with them, and then talk to them about what's going on in Sugar Land and what they need to know to then turn to their business clients and be knowledgeable about the positives of locating in Sugar Land. So we are starting off with reaching out to site selectors specifically in Texas, because there's so much, Texas is really booming right now with business, and it's something that we want to play off of. And a message that we're tying throughout our entire program, but we're using specifically for site selection, is that when site selectors think Houston, we want them to think Sugar Land. Obviously Houston, if you think Texas, Houston may be on the top of mind. So our goal is to make sure that that is a shifted thought process, and that they know that just outside of Houston is this incredible place that has other, if the same, if not better amenities, but then all these other things that Houston doesn't offer as well. So these will likely be virtual, although if there are people who are more local, then we are going to work to see if they can be in person. And then another part of our site selection outreach is we're going to send 4 e-newsletters. So these will contain different business announcements. We only send these if we have an appropriate announcement. We don't want to bombard them with information that isn't relevant, but if we have a great announcement, then we have ourselves, a database of site selectors who are appropriate to receive these announcements, and we'll write that up and send out in an e-newsletter to the right people. Next slide. So this part, I'll let Melissa go, but
you don't need to share this slide, Tia or Natalie, whomever sharing the screen. This was just in case we had any questions regarding the budget.
But are there any questions that I can answer?
I don't have any.
Anyone else?
Good presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Melissa. We can close the workshop item, and we can move on to the director's report.
Perfect. Thank y'all, Melissa and Jackie, for the presentation. My screen keeps freezing, so hopefully y'all can hear me, but I don't have anything. We are hard at work with baseball and opening day tomorrow. That is absorbing a significant amount of the entire department's time, as well as the All In for SLTX work. So we've got some great things going on. And, you know, as the tourism and things start to open up again, we're looking at travel opportunities to get back out in the convention and site selection space. But as of right now, we don't have anything planned. So appreciate your support and hope to see you all out at opening day tomorrow.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And again, welcome Suzanne to our board. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Director McCutcheons, and second, we can close the meeting, 4:54. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Good to
much.
see you.